someone told me, old mentor of mine told me, you don't learn anything when you're talking.
Yeah.
And you know, there's some people that do nothing but talk, and that's why they're stuck. That's why, and those people tend to be frustrated because they feel like they're doing so much, which they are, but they're doing too much of a wrong thing.
Yeah.
Like, why don't people want to share ownership inside of businesses? I think there's good reasons why, and I think there's a lot of bad reasons why. Price is more of an art than it is a science. You always have to be mindful of what your competitors are doing, but always keep in mind that your value proposition is different than your competitors. Have you guys seen any episodes? You guys saw the John one.
Yeah.
Before I even published it, right?
Yeah. I watched just a couple clips.
Honest.
Awesome. You're jumping in fresh. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll give you, because I haven't done this in any episode yet, we only have 2 out, about to be 3.
Yeah.
We publish bi-weekly. I'll tell you guys what the show's supposed to be about since I haven't told anybody. 2 key, simple proposals. One is to showcase what small businesses look like. Because I think the internet does a great job at showcasing what big businesses look like or telling stories of how someone went from small to big. But like, what about when they were still small? You don't see it too much of that.
Yeah.
And I get to see that every day. I've seen that every day for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be cool to show other people that.
No, that's pretty dope.
That's proposal 1.
Nice.
And then proposal 2 is to discuss certain frameworks. So I've had this conversation like tens of thousands of times. I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs. I've built thousands of financial plans. And I've probably on average sat down in a meeting like I have with you guys twice now, like 20 times a week for what's 10 years, like 500 weeks. And there's a certain level of pattern recognition. Once you do something enough, you play volleyball. So, you know, you start knowing what the ball is about to look like. I've just started seeing things that I thought are interesting. And as I've looked this stuff up, people haven't really written on it much.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be cool to talk about that. And it's really the stages that a business goes through between 0 revenue and 10 million in revenue that I find the most interesting. This is technically like what micro business. We're technically not even small businesses, your business, my business. We're technically micro businesses. We're too small to be considered a small business.
We're not there yet then.
We're not there yet.
Work to do. We got a lot of work to do.
We're not there yet. And by the way, that's most businesses. So of all the legal entities that exist in the US, as of 2023, 99.6% are under the $10 million in revenue threshold
99.6.
out of 33 million businesses that exist.
That's insane.
99.6% out of 33 million businesses in the US have not been able to cross the $10 million threshold.
I mean, I believe that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's that.
Yeah.
Like, I totally, absolutely believe that.
The crazy one that keeps ringing in my mind is something like 14 million haven't surpassed 500K. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is.
So I think there's a reason. I think the reasons are about the same at certain breakpoints. 100K, $250,000, 500K, million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million. It's about the same reasons that people are getting stuck in those areas. And I'd like to talk about that. But I brought you guys in because you guys are a fresh partnership, I'd like to say, right?
Yeah.
And I want to talk about partnerships. People don't talk enough about partnerships.
Yeah.
So tell us how you guys met.
We met like 10 years ago,
Yeah,
maybe?
at this
Awesome.
point, probably
Love that.
10 years ago.
10 years, right around there. I don't
Love that.
remember. But we met through a mutual friend at the gym.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And we'd just see each other at the gym most of the time.
Yep.
And then after a few years or a couple of years of knowing each other, we started kind of like he needed some video work done, you know. So
What kind?
Volleyball, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, it was mostly volleyball stuff. So it starting with the club, like for me, like the origin of everything was the volleyball club.
Cool.
And I was walking around with a camera, and whenever I got a little bit of a bigger budget, I'd try to bring him in as much as I could, which wasn't that, I mean, it was a couple times, but
Who was giving you the budget?
the club,
Cool.
club, yeah. And then from there, we'd he'd help me with that and a couple other projects. And then last year, or 2 years ago at this point, he approached me for just some management stuff on a gig, and we had we had gone through it, and it was kind of one of those things where like we were both just had this idea of like, dude, like this agency idea of, or just team at least, start with that, and where it's like he enjoys creating, populating businesses with content. I enjoy doing that as well. And so it was like, how do we put our tool sets together and build it, or at least start it?
You guys ever heard of a guy named Naval? I'm not going to try to say his last name because I'm going to butcher it. But Naval. He's a very quiet, but sometimes outspoken Silicon Valley investor, very wise individual. He's basically been at the start of a lot of major companies. I think Twitter being one of them, like early investor, right? So he's loaded. Yeah. And he's kind of a philosopher. He talks about the 3 forms of leverage that every business needs to succeed dramatically. And you guys figured out the first one, the leverage of skills, specifically other people's skills. It's like everybody wants to go at this alone because for some reason they don't want to share. I want to talk about that. Like, why don't people want to share ownership inside of businesses? I think there's good reasons why, and I think there's a lot of bad reasons why. But
I got 2 reasons right off the top of my head.
What are they?
One of them's ego.
And
that kind of leads to trust as well. Whether so ego being I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. I don't want to. Why would I expand or extend an olive branch to this person, that person, that person? And then the second thing would be trust. This person, whether I have an ego or not, I've been burnt so many times that like, how do I now continue to try to put my trust into some other person?
How do you trust someone? How do you make that decision?
I think it's hard. I think it's more about actions. For me, it's actions. Seeing how somebody does things over time. How consistent they are. I'm more of like, I like to see. I'm more of like, I don't go by what they say. I just watch what they do.
That's the way, by the way. That's how you get truth out of people. Because people lie to themselves. Hey, I want to wake up at 5:30 tomorrow, go to the gym. And then they don't. So, they lie to themselves in good intention in trying to become a better person.
Correct.
But the actions, man, you can't lie on action.
It's about actions.
And reactions.
I've learned that a long time ago. When I was a kid, same thing. I always watch what people did and around me.
And so for 10 years, you guys have been watching what each other has done from close, from far.
Exactly. A lot of people want to be videographers. And at the end of the day, you see them go at it for a couple of years and then they go into a different route. So the fact that I did this through the hard times, through COVID, with, things were very, very, very tough. Nobody wanted to work with nobody at that point. Pretty sure he saw the same, he saw that same action in me where I was still trying to figure it out. How do I, get past this point? And same thing with him, he was still doing the same thing. It's like, all right, I think this is the person to team up with, right?
So Mike, you saw a talented videographer, and Joel, and Mike, you saw an operator, like someone who knew how to do the behind the scenes, the business.
I can be disorganized at some points.
Creatives can be.
So for me, it was more that I needed somebody just to kind of like be there with me. And I mean, he's doing way more than just being there with me, right? But the point is that it showed structure, I didn't have structure in a way. Like I was just go. I mean, I think he can tell you that. He's more of like this is how it should be, and I'm more like, no, let's just do it. Which is a good combination to have. Because he'll slow me down, but I'll speed him up. He'll slow me, where it's a good thing because sometimes he sees things that I don't see. You know?
This is the point of partnership. You guys are talking about balance, risk management, the proper approach.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people have told me over the last 10 years, Rob, you need to find more balance. If you can imagine, I work a decent amount. I've worked a decent amount for a decent amount of time. Yeah. And so many people have told me, like, you got to find more balance. And I hate hearing that. Because there's no balance in trying to do very difficult things. Like, I can't be on my, I just want to, at 5 o'clock, I just want to turn my brain off. I don't want to think about work anymore. And then also say, I'd like to take my company from 2.5 million to 5 million in revenue in the next 2 years. You can't do that. That doesn't exist. The best way that I found balance is through partnership. First with my brother, then with my wife, then with my team, then with my partners, because they be balanced. They be on the other side of the spectrum. And I'm over here. And I'm like, can you come over here? And they're like, well, you should come a little over here. And that's been the only way I found balance, through accountability.
I like that.
And that's what you were looking for. Right?
Well, I mean, he tell me all the time, you know, like take your break, you know, take your break. And and I've taken that advice, you know, and then there's times where I'm just like, no, we need to go. He's like, you need to take a break, you know, but it kind of, it helps you, you know, if you're a person to listen, if you're a listener, then you would get it, right? And I think, like, the one good thing is that I also listen, right? So sometimes it's good to just listen.
I mean, you know? Someone told me, old mentor of mine told me, you don't learn anything when you're talking. And you know, there's some people that do nothing but talk, and that's why they're stuck. That's why, and those people tend to be frustrated because they feel like they're doing so much, which they are, but they're doing too much of a wrong thing. So I like this duo, by the way. This is the beginning of a very, very lucrative partnership from where I'm sitting. And I just saw this play out a few thousand times. I think you guys already hit so much on the head. Accountability being the way to guarantee almost success. Because business is very hard, just like life is very hard. Things are going to have to change. You're going to have to pivot strategy. You're going to lose key clients. You know, you're going to think you have something and then it's going to go away. And doing all that by yourself sucks.
I think one thing that's, like, in the spirit of balance for, like, us partnering was, one thing it did was ensure that there was a train on a track. And because I know when I'm by myself, I'm sure you feel the same way. Like, it's like you're over here, you're over there, you're over here. But, like, when it's together, that chaos is more of just speed. It's not veering right or veering left. It's speed. And so we're on the train. Speed. And sometimes it's very fast. And then sometimes it slows down a little bit. But the point is that it's going forward. I think, you know,
what a great analogy. There's this book, I'm going to remember the name of it before this episode ends, but it speaks to the key businesses, the fundamentally successful businesses like Apple and Google, but it speaks to small ones too, always had an innovator and an integrator. The person who's the engine of the train and the person who's hustling ahead of them building the track. Because you keep going and there's no track. Derailed. That's how businesses lose. And every business, right? With Jobs and Wozniak, with the two founders of Google, with JBS, Alex has really been the core innovator. A lot of people mistake me for being an innovator, but I'm an ultimate integrator. That's what makes me such a good consultant, because I help CEOs who are true innovators, true drivers of the train, make sure they don't derail. That's what I'm good at. That's my gift. I think that's also what my mom was very good at. So I think I got that gift somewhat naturally, or maybe just because I saw it my whole life.
Regardless, it still came from your mama. So.
Either way,
100%, no doubt about that. So you guys hit leverage one on the head, leveraging other people's skills. And what I would advise you is, as your business grows, to continue to do that with other people. You don't have to make everyone a partner, right? But having that initial skin in the game with those initial people, I think makes all the difference long term. It's funny in our communities. I have a friend of mine, one of my best friends. His father used to tell me, "Rob, partners are for dancing. Like, don't do that shit. Partners are for dancing. That's it." And this is a successful guy, probably worth $20 million. Really only ever partnered in anything with his father, and I think it limited his potential. I think he could have been much bigger.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that, especially I went through a bad partnership. It was 6 of us here. Now there's 3 of us. That's because of some of the stuff you just said, trust, ego, direction, all of that stuff was out of alignment. But I'm glad that out of that, I came to the conclusion that I will always have partners in everything that I do, because that's how we're going to build better things.
Yeah.
And I think our community struggle with that because they've seen some of the losses, some of the whack shit that's happened.
Yeah.
But it's like, but every great business, every truly great business, every truly great household came from partnership.
Yeah. One thing that I think of when it comes to that is Steve Jobs. Like, what if Steve Jobs woke up and was telling his kid never partner? It's like, I don't think he was saying that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And he was a crazy motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, people have spoke out on his behaviors.
Yeah.
He was like an asshole. That was the best way to describe him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is saying that says if you wanna go fast, go alone, and if you wanna go far,
you got it.
get together, right?
You got it. And I love this train analogy. I haven't thought about that before because that's spot on. I've seen people lose track and not slow the train down. I've seen that happen so many times. I just helped 2 businesses over the last 6 months, and 2 large businesses, over $1 million in revenue, just avoid failure because they were about to close down. And it was like, I just looked at the data and it's like, what the hell are you guys doing? You're making bad decisions. You've made bad decisions years before. And then for some reason, ego, I don't know, maybe they don't know how, you haven't reverted the decision. You're still making the decision.
Yeah.
And it was like intervention style.
Yeah.
And thank God it worked out. But it's simple. Some of the problems that businesses face, they're not complicated problems.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're selling that, but it costs you too much to sell that. So this is not going to work.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you're paying this person this much, but it looks like they're only working 20 hours a week. You're paying them for 40. That's not going to work. Like, there's simple problems.
Yeah.
But people encounter them every day. What do you think the next leverage you're going to need? I kind of hinted at it in the beginning. What else are you going to need to leverage outside of people's skills?
Time.
I think that still goes back to people because that's whose time, right? Think of something that's much more scalable than people or time.
What we have to leverage.
Or build a bigger business.
Team.
Yep.
More
people.
More people. I think
More
it just
people.
for us. I feel like it just comes down to people.
Yeah, this is where most
everything.
people get stuck. And you're right. And I think that's why, like, the 14 of the 33 million that can't get 500K, I think a lot of them are just 1 to 3 people. 80% of the 33 million is one person. Isn't that crazy? So technically an Uber driver is considered self-employed. That's a business.
Yeah.
80% of 33 million is just one person. So that's the one that people like stay in and don't ever move away from.
Yeah.
The second one's technology. Like, you could leverage tech to edit faster, to invoice faster, right?
Yeah.
There comes a time where it's like, okay, I used to have 10 clients, now I have 100.
Yeah.
And I used to spend 3 hours invoicing, now I'm spending 30. It's like, we could cut that back down to 3 with tech.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, oh, I need to hire a bookkeeper to do the invoicing. It's like, wait. Let's see if the system could get better before we start just adding more people and more expenses to this thing. So the tech stack, leveraging tech, especially now, dude. Oh my God. I remember the day that I first saw that ChatGPT was out. I looked at that thing and I was like, oh my God, I never thought I'd see something like this early in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And it was like nirvana. And ever since that's happened, bro, I've done so many things. I do business plans for people, especially turnaround strategies.
Yeah.
So it's like I get to know where the business is at. It's not in a good place. We need to do something about it. And that is learning the business, the product, the pricing, the cost, the people. Right? You gotta learn all these things. Yeah. Once I have that, I have AI note taker in my meetings. So I get transcripts of the.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Once I have, and now I know that note taker's in there, I'm speaking a different way.
Yeah.
I'm not only speaking for what the client needs to hear, but I'm also speaking for what my notes need to say. And then I leave that meeting, and what used to take me 2.5 days to build a 15-page business plan, I get it done in 5 minutes with a specifically trained GPT.
Yeah.
So the point is to before anybody looks into adding people, make sure that the tech is maximized.
And you'll know, depending on the thing that is missing in the business, whether it will require a person or not. So that's, is this going to need a videography? You need a person for that.
Yeah.
When you think maybe not, that's when you need to start looking into tech.
So gotcha. Okay.
And the biggest businesses in the world, they're the ones that leverage tech the most because tech is scalable unlike anything that humans have ever designed. Yeah. It's weird. It has an inverse correlation to typical economic output. It takes way more upfront to get the thing done. Remember when TVs used to cost 4K?
Yeah.
It's like, it's $4,000 for a flat screen and it's not even flat.
Yeah, not even flat. Yeah, I remember that.
But the way that technology operates, it's inverse. It's opposite to the way typical economics operate. And a reminder that typical economics comes from the Industrial Revolution. All economic theory that we've been running with for the last 300 years has come from the basis of what is factories and industrialism. So it doesn't work like that anymore. It's not like you add one more widget or one more person or one more machine and then you get a certain amount of output. Yeah. You build this technology, which is insane to build, costs sometimes billions, right? And then when you build it, it's cents to use it again. And then eventually it becomes pennies to use it again. And tech is the ultimate form of leverage because you could build something that could service 10 people, 10,000 people, 10 million people, 10 billion people.
Yeah.
You just need some servers. You don't have to invest much.
Yeah.
So every small business needs to learn to leverage tech or they're going to die.
Yeah. Especially with AI now, I feel like you got to get ahead of that wave.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because I think what's going to happen is the same thing that happened with like mom and pop print shops and Vistaprint.
Yeah.
Is like someone's going to come around, decide to target the industry that you're in, use an insane amount of tech leverage, and then they're going to wipe most of you out.
Yeah.
The good 100%. News is not so much in your business, certainly not so much in my business, but some businesses, bro, they're out the door and they don't even know it yet.
I that's one thing, we kind of talk a lot about is how to stay ahead, right? Because somebody younger than me is going to come.
Yeah. Cheaper, hungry.
And I see that. I was telling you that, like a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that eventually the production cost is going to go down.
Yep.
So we have to, it's already gone down, right? So, you look at commercials now and stuff like that, right? You still got the high production commercials, but if you really think about it, you got most companies using creatives to come up with these commercials, right?
Yep.
So if we can offer, the way I look at our company is that we have the capability to produce high production videos. Now we need to figure out how to produce low production videos.
That's a conscious decision you have to make, and this is what we call product development.
Yeah.
So it depends. It depends the market you want to service. It depends the product you want to offer. I'd like to get to that. Before we get to product development, I'd like to say something about high production. 20 years ago, high production cost a lot of money.
Millions.
Cameras were huge. Crews were huge. And the alternative was some janky-ass home video that you see in America's Funniest Home Video. Today, anybody with an iPhone 14 could have a high-quality video done. So your value proposition has changed. Your industry's value proposition has changed dramatically over the last 2 decades. What is it, knowing that, what is it that you think you sell?
I think we sell more of the creative side. I think that's something that you can't just hire anybody for. So the fact that we can find a solution, you know, that's the biggest.
That's literally what I wrote down, by the way, the creative side.
It's just finding a solution, right, for the client. I think past experiences have helped me with that too. You know, not to say that me and Hope would sit down and come up with something, right? But the thing is that most people don't know what to do in a, you know, for a business. Like what should they be getting? What should be captured? You know, in what way it should be told. And I think we're pretty good at that.
Storytelling.
I would say storytelling and just making it look good. You know, right? I think it's just more about making it look good. It's like, how do you make a class, you know, a fitness class look great? Right? And I think, you know, a lot of people would show up with a camera and just capture whatever. No, we take a huge, you know, responsibility into making sure that we have good light setup. We have, you know, great facial expressions, you know, like it's just we take a lot of that into consideration.
It has to be, because
whether the project is big or small. That's probably the biggest.
And that might present a pricing issue for you.
It does and it doesn't, because if it's small, we'll treat it the same way, because it you know
it's how you do. It's the creative.
Exactly. Now, what I mean by that lower production is just having somebody show up with a camera and still getting great content. You
maybe 80% instead of 100, or instead of 120.
Correct. So you know, stuff that can be recorded with iPhone, right? We still shoot it with a camera.
That's what I'm saying. You got a pricing issue when you approach the same client.
Correct.
The 2 different clients in the same approach, when you're using high value videography, when you're using high value equipment, it's like your cost of goods sold on that project is the same, but the price ticket's way different.
Well, what we have figured out is how do we do that with I don't want to say a lower caliber videographer, but you know, somebody that's just somewhat of an entry to medium level videographer.
That's how you're going to get labor costs down.
Correct. And I think Mike can touch up on that.
Just like, and also kind of going back to like what you said, like what do we sell these people? Sell the clients. It's giving them their vision. So there's the people that don't know necessarily what they want. We get to them in a second, but like the people that say, oh, like, you know, we have this going on. I want it to look like this, and I think that, and I want it to feel like the look and feel is what they have a vision of what it's going to look and feel like. And so his ability and our ability to sit down and listen to that and say, and then go to the shoot or whatever it is and capture exactly that and give it to them so that they say, oh my God, this is exactly what I envisioned.
Do you find your best clients know exactly what they want? Or are your best clients the ones who have no idea and you help them figure it out?
The best clients are the ones that get the creative process. So if they know what they want and or they don't, if they get our process and our, like, if they, like, to your point, like they don't know, say there's someone that doesn't know what the heck they want. We still, like, we can feel them out and say, okay, like, we need to understand what their brand personality is and what would fit that. And then we go and we do it and we say, hey, I think this is what you might be looking for. And I'm going to say almost 9.5 out of 10 times they look at that and say, oh my God, I didn't even know I wanted it to look like this or feel like this, but this is perfect.
I mean, I think that's the good thing that we have too, is like even if they don't know what they want, we find something that they would like, or it's not even that they would like. It's like, what is the purpose behind this? You know, because most of our clients, we don't recommend that you just work with us if there's no purpose behind the content. There has to be a purpose. Yep. Like
then it's just like expensive, really nice content.
It's expensive. So what is it? Is this just for you to post? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Like, and now I see what you mean about the different kind of products to offer to different kind of people.
Yeah.
I have a proposal for you guys. This is what I think you sell to, let's call it your commercial clients, right? The more upscale, more legitimate, established businesses. I think that either, depending on the person in front of you, you are selling the ability to build someone's vision, like to take whatever it is in their head that they're dreaming this could look like and turn the screen around and show that to them. That's a powerful sale. Remember, the only thing that sells is emotions, right? I've been learning, finance is my background, economics is my passion. I've been learning marketing recently, and I like to call it sales and marketing. I've known sales for as long as I've been alive. Marketing is a new one for me. And the difference for me between sales and marketing is sales is good when you can go one-on-one. Yeah. Like when you master that one-on-one interaction, you're a killer salesperson. When you learn how to sell 1 on 1,000, that's when you've learned marketing. Mm-hmm. What you guys do is you sell emotions. By the way, that's what I do too. That's what all great salespeople do. I think you're either bringing that to the table for someone, right? Like, get this vision out of my head and onto a screen.
Yeah.
Or if they don't know about the creative process, you're taking them along for the ride. You're teaching them what is the creative process, the journey.
You just said that. You hit that right on the head. I think teaching is probably the biggest thing.
Yep.
When they don't know something, we go above and beyond to kind of like break it down to the T so that they can understand the purpose. We're just shooting a video, but we actually, if they don't know what they're going to do with the video, we tell them what they should be doing with the video. Mm. So I think that's probably a good, I wouldn't say selling tactic. I think it just comes naturally to just kind of like, let's give them, let's give them a way to use this.
The best sales is something that comes naturally because that means it's something you believe in.
Correct.
If it doesn't come naturally, all that means to me is you don't believe in this shit.
Yeah.
So you're selling something you don't believe in.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other piece of it. So we can sell an emotion, but the other half of it is, does this piece of whatever, does it accomplish the objective that, like, you didn't call us for a cool video. You called us because you need to get exposure or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah.
So you're going to look at this video and say, "Oh my God, it's so cool," and then your partner is going to look at it and say, "Yeah, but it doesn't even does it sell the thing that we need to sell?" And that's the other part. So the objective and the emotion together, I think that's
Are you guys in the business of providing that objective? Because that
okay, absolutely.
How do you do that with someone who has no marketing infrastructure, no marketing background?
Proposals.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are in the business of building a media company, not just videography, like true, like marketing consulting strategy.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
So we are moving into. So again, starting from where we started, we figured each other's positions and where we should be, and the goal. Little by little, I've been building a small videographer team, and now our job is to find a mini mic. So
makes sense.
So I'm grateful that I have great guys, but the way I've built them is through action.
Yeah.
How they show up, when they show up, are they here when they need to be, and if they are, then I take the time to teach them what my skills.
Yep.
So I give them the shortcuts to everything.
Yep. That's called talent development.
Yes, and it's been working.
Yeah, right? Of course.
It's been working really good. Yeah. So now I think we need to find a mini mic.
An operator.
Yep, an operator, but also
an
someone
assistant
that
could be good.
Yeah.
And then eventually, somebody that can just kind of like.
Let's not keep throwing people though, because every time you keep throwing people into the equation, I agree. It becomes more scalable, becomes more legitimate, more revenue. But it also introduces a lot more costs, a lot more risk.
Correct. We were very aware of that. We're trying to keep that. Yeah. We're
tech first, people second.
It's a fine balance. I also think it's more about productivity first. Is like, are you guys being as productive as you possibly can be? Yeah. And that needs to be continuously audited, in my opinion. Like every 3 months is like, hey, did we lose our productivity measures? Are we back on track? Yeah. You guys have to do like internal audits, not just financial audits, but operational audits.
Okay.
Are we working with the right clients? Are we bringing in the right leads? Are we qualifying those leads effectively? You and I could talk about this, Mike, because I have a lot of sales background and training. That's one of the things I help a lot of my clients with. But I want to reverse the clock a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I've realized we missed this part. July 8th, 2024, you guys formed Eights Digital LLC.
In Massachusetts.
Yep.
Yes.
Before that, in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
When was that?
December 16th, I think it was.
2023?
Yeah. First check we got was in 2024. January 1st.
Tell me about that story, the formation.
Well, we had that, we just had a bunch of conversations of like, okay, so, and this actually goes back to what you asked earlier of, how do you pitch that to a client? Like, is that, what do you sell and how do you, for us, it was like, I was looking at Joel, like, dude, like, phenomenal. Like your work is so good. What we're going to do is when we pitch this to clients or whatever, like it needs to be not just, it's not going to be a video. It's going to be a thing. There's a thing. Yeah. And
there's a pitch.
Yeah, there's a pitch to it. And there's, in the proposal, it's like whether the client appreciates this or not, you're going to understand that we're thinking about the mission of your business compared to the mission of this project, the objectives that we need to get, so it gets them to understand that, the creative process that we talked about.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I'm not just talking to a guy with a camera.
Yeah.
Not that everyone perhaps thinks that way, but it's like, no, there's intention behind what we're doing. And so that when you are done with your video that we kill, obviously, not, or he kills, when you want to have that bigger conversation of, hey, you should let's do this every single month. We're already ahead of that because you're already thinking that in your one-off video or whatever. But to answer your question, like how did it? So we just kept having those conversations and our constant navigation of roles and constant navigation of what the heck we're doing. We started up in December, and we had already kind of. The wheels are already in motion. I mean, we started working together in April. Yeah. And it was like, okay, we got one client that can be consistent. We got 2 clients that can be consistent, bunch of one-offs, 3 clients that can be consistent. Okay, so all right, like let's really think about this.
Let's structure it better.
Yeah, constant conversation, and then built it in New Hampshire in December and rocked and rolled, and then it constantly getting more and more accumulated with, or just like understanding the business side of it, and like, okay, like we should be in mass because we're ultimately it's in mass. So, just the constant growing pains, but just navigating them.
The partnership sounds like it formed very naturally over the course of what was probably very fun conversations.
No, it did. It actually did, because it started with I think our first official was all day. Yeah.
Why did you guys decide to do that one together?
I needed scripture, like something that needed. I hate emailing. I hate all that.
Classic creative.
That is just not me at all. Yep. I'm a phone call face to face. I need to see you. Need to see how you react. I'm that type of person.
I do 100 emails a day.
I would go nuts. I would quit on the spot. So I was like, maybe you can come along and figure this out.
Help me with this.
Yeah, let's figure this out, And
classic innovator integrator. Classic.
Yeah, and it went well. It went well, and I'm like, all right, this is looking good. I felt confident. I felt good. I felt like, he put something together that was well put together, right? If that makes sense.
Yep.
And we did our shoot, and I was like, okay. Now I was like, all right, now we got to figure something out. How can we build this into something bigger? And it just went. And it's going. It's still going. We got
can I tell you a little bit about my theory, the theory I'm working on? What I call breakpoints. I don't know if I'm going to keep calling it breakpoints, but I call it that because that's an investment language. When we manage money for people, we charge usually a percentage of AUM, assets under management. And, as the assets are bigger, the percentage is smaller. So it's like if you're starting off, I might charge you 1.5%, 2%. But when you hit the first breakpoint at 100K, usually it's around 100K, it drops 0.25%, 25 basis points. And then when you go over $1 million, it drops under 1%, right? And if you go over 10 million, because it's like, I'm not going to charge you 1% of this larger number. So we hit these breakpoints. So I've been calling them breakpoints probably out of habit and training. The first one's 100K. So like before 100K, you just have this thing that you've maybe decided to do. Maybe, I don't know what the hell's going on, right? It's a side hustle, is this, is that. You don't have a business.
Yeah.
I think the 100K breakpoint is the one I'm calling the decision to build a company. Like you make that conscious decision where it's like, I'm going to build something here. And it's not when you create the LLC, because Gene and I see hundreds of people create LLCs and then never do anything with it.
Yeah.
It's when you make a conscious decision to start a company. And that's really usually right around the time that you make those first key hires or partnerships. I fundamentally believe that when those things are partnerships with the right people instead of hires, even if it's the right people, what's going to happen next is you're going to rush through these breakpoints. Instead of it taking you 10 years to get to $1 million organically, just like it took JBS between 2005 and 2019 to get to 1 million. That's organic. I think the right people with the right equity incentive just crushes through these breakpoints. The next one you guys will face probably this year, and you'll probably crush through it this year, is what I'm feeling, is the hiring challenge and the systems challenge. So like now you got to hire outside of key people. You need an administrator, you need some subcontractors, you need to start thinking about, damn, those subcontractors, they need to carry their own insurance or else they're going to come after my insurance and they represent the company. How do we deal with that? And then you need to build technological systems. How do we invoice? What's our accounts receivable look like? Where are we editing? Can we integrate AI into editing? Like you need to start building systems that you can replicate, that you can teach people. And once you do those two things right, even if you don't do the $250,000, you just blew past that break point and you're on your way to $500,000, which is where most people get stuck. The operational ceiling.
So creating systems for
running the business. It's really about sitting down and writing down every single activity that your business does, and then mapping that out to how are we currently doing that activity, and then building systems around that activity. So instead of just doing them by happen chance or by mistake, it's like, oh, we know how to do that next. Oh, client accepted proposal, contract's going out, I'll DocuSign right now. Contract's already templated, it's going out right away. So every activity in your business, from the moment you show up to unpacking your bags, I know the creative stuff's a little hard to systemize, but you have to try to systemize everything.
And then, I personally, I know this about myself. I love the audit side.
Yeah.
Like I love just what is this? And I've said this a couple times already, where it's like, how can I break this down? And just at the top is this is what it is, and then there's this side of it, this side of just web, and just like that. I love that stuff, and and I think that's kind of another thing that just helps understanding is we're constantly in the groove of what are we doing? What are we doing? What is and then to the point of the client, they know what we're doing too, because it gets presented to them.
Yeah.
And we're at a point too where with for example, proposals where we can get you this is what we're going to do for you. This is why it's important today. This is why it's going to be important tomorrow. In much quicker, because we've done it so many times by now. Yeah. And for them, it's very impactful because it's hopefully,
I think so.
It's very impactful because it provides depth and essence to what we do, and we can do it very quickly.
It shows you're paying attention. It shows you are not going to disappoint. It shows you are not going to disappear. Because a lot of people do that.
And when we start adding zeros to these quotes like that, it makes a difference.
It also makes you feel a lot more confident around adding those zeros.
100%.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yep.
I think we've noticed that throughout the time.
Yep.
And him too. He pushed a couple of times higher than what I originally had mentioned, and it made the sale. I'm like, all right, now it's time for me to step out.
Do you know?
I'm like, all right, you take over that shit. You know, because now that's kind of what you kind of like start seeing that you don't. For me, I think it was more of a, I wouldn't say control thing, but more of like, since I've been doing this so long, I felt like I had to be here.
Yep.
I had to be on this call. Or I had to, remember? You're like, no, I got it. And I'm like, no, I want to be there. And then it's like, okay, he has it. Like, I got to learn that he has it.
Let it go.
You know, let it go.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a big part of partnership is knowing when to involve yourself in his you know, in his place, and when, you know, just giving each other that space of like, okay, trust him. That trust you just spoke about, you know, is trust.
Yep.
You just spoke about trust, you know.
You know, the right partners realize why they got into partnership and the wrong ones don't. So we got into partnership because of leverage. Yeah. Because I can't be everywhere at the same place, because I can't work more than 80 hours a week, because I have limitations of myself, right? We know that. And you can spend 10 years working through those limitations and focusing on your weaknesses, or you could just go find someone whose your weaknesses are their strengths. And that's ultimate leverage. So when you step in front of that, you're defeating the purpose.
Exactly. And I've you know, I think I've learned that to kind of like, all right, shut the fuck up, Joel. Yeah.
And you know what? I'll give you pricing. I'll give you pricing in 30 seconds. Pricing is simple. How do you set? I do a lot of price modeling for clients. How do you set the right price? No one knows what the right price is. So what do? You look at your competitors, you overanalyze, you overthink this, you undershoot. It's like pricing is how much can I charge before people start saying no too consistently. So if all you're hearing is no, you're in the wrong market or you're overpriced. Simple. If all you're hearing is yes, you're in the wrong market or you're underpriced. Right? I don't know yet. I try to build systems around everything. What the exact number of yeses and nos are, but you could build a system around this too. If you're quantifying your sales data and you're saying, how many people am I putting a proposal in front of? Okay, 100 out of every 100 people, 70 are saying yes, 30 are saying no. I'm rightly priced. If it goes 50-50, oh shit, I got to increase my pricing. And that's literally, price is more of an art than it is a science. You always have to be mindful of what your competitors are doing, but always keep in mind that your value proposition is different than your competitors. So you might be technically doing the same thing, videography, but you might be selling something way different. And if that's the case, don't compare it to price.
Yeah, correct.
One thing that's helped us navigate that is one of our mentors talked about what do we do for people? We help them, and that was new to us. It's just language.
Yeah.
Like are we going to help you or not? So what that does is that it changes the whole dynamic of what we do for you, and more importantly, this might not help you. So far be it from me to under or overcharge you when you need someone else. Yeah. Yep. That was new for us, just from a language standpoint and comfort for us. We are very comfortable now being like, listen, this is what you do. Yeah. Or hey, you're gonna pay too much for this, and that was just it was really
good. Salespeople know how to get to a yes or a no way faster. It's like all we need to know first before anything else is, are we going to work together? Forget about proposals and all that jazz. It's like maybe is enough where I'm going to invest in a proposal, but I'm looking for the no as soon as possible because I have 100 other people in my pipeline. The only people that struggle over this and stress over this are the people who've got 3 people in their pipeline. Yeah. If someone doesn't say no soon, they're going to miss their rent payment. Yeah. It's like, well, your problem is not sales. Your problem is lead generation. Yeah. But you're right, Mike. The first thing that I learned in sales was what they called red letter language, which is basically the language of sales. How do you know to say the right things at the right time? And when you're learning that thing as a new sales rep, you're basically just reading from a script. Yeah. Yeah. And it's very important to memorize that script as fast as possible because that's what's going to give you the framework of understanding how the script works to then make it your own. Since this conversation, I haven't thought about that script in like 6 years because it's just like
ingrained. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's just how I talk.
Yeah, it's just how you talk.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
and I'm way off that script because I'm not trying to push a product to anybody. That's what that script was about for the most part. I'm just trying to see, do I like this person? do I think they like me?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to work with anyone I don't like.
Yeah.
And then it's, are we going to work together? And it's usually a timing issue. Because if you have a business, we could work together. But is your business at the right time and is my business at the right time where this is going to align? Correct. And then if yes, my only question is, okay, are you going to work with me or are you really going to work with my team? And that just depends on how much you want to spend.
Correct.
And this will continue to change over time. I don't think I'll ever stop working with people because I just love working with entrepreneurs, but this will continue to change.
Fostering a good dialogue with our clients is like
It's everything.
It's huge.
Can we tell everyone how we met? That was wild.
Yeah.
You guys, me and Gene were having lunch. We were about to get our series of ping pong in because every lunch we go through like at least 3 games where I just smoke them.
damn like that.
And once in a while, I think right these days, maybe once in every like 50 matches, like games of 3, he'll win one. 25? I'll give him 25.
I didn't even win one against him.
So we just dogged our lunch and we were about to do that. And then I think it was Eastmania, I can't remember, said, hey, I got these guys here. They want to talk to someone about their partnership. And I was like, I don't do anything out of calendar. You caught me on a good day. I don't do anything out of calendar. I don't even, right now on my phone, I have 174 missed calls and voicemails because it's like, no, dude, don't reach me like that, please.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I thought, Gene, let's go talk to these guys.
Yeah.
And you guys came at me and said, we just left our CPA's office with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I was lost. That's what I.
So the big thing for us was understanding taxes and just really quick, like part of us coming together was like, listen, if we do this, like a year from now, no matter how much money we make, there needs to be a big old chunk on the side because we're going to get hit with this, we're going to hit with that. So,
Uncle Salami,
we did that,
baby.
Right?
Yeah.
So we went through that process with a CPA and we got, I mean, you said it just like that. We were like, okay, so I definitely did not get what I wanted there. And we were just like, that's one thing that we hate is when we're like this.
Yeah.
It's like,
It was
like
just
we're very
it
in
was
control.
just words and numbers that we didn't understand.
Yeah, a lot of CPAs, they're very good at their craft. They're very technical.
Yeah.
But, if you're explaining video to someone, you need to explain it to someone who doesn't shoot video,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And accountants really struggle with this one. Like, you got to explain this to a couple of guys who are building a business for the first time in their first partnership, who have no idea what a 1065 is. Stop using that term. Just call it a partnership.
Yeah.
Because that's what a 1065 is.
Yeah.
Right?
She gave us these papers. I felt like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were taking a test.
I'm like, oh my God.
What are we doing?
But I felt like going into it confident because like I said, we were like, listen, we got our partnership. This is what it is.
Yep.
We got this amount of money on the side ready for tax season. Bring it on, whatever. Yep. And by the end of it, I was like, and so when we sat down with you, the conversation was like, look, like we feel really good about what we have here. If it's a good business or not, we just want to be prepared for April.
Yeah, because you got to file no matter what. Good business or not.
Yeah.
I want to know what this means, what that means, what the sequence looks like, and that's it. I'm like, I said to him on the way over here was like, I just want someone to just write on a whiteboard.
That's
this
fun.
is this. And you're gonna break it down to that. It's gonna go to here, and then you go to that, and then look at us and say good, and we're gonna say good, right before we came over here, and that is exactly what happened, and it was like okay, well,
that's how I
wish
learned.
granted.
You know what's funny is I love whiteboards. I have them everywhere, as you know.
Me too.
And that's how I learned. So when I was 20, I was literally 20 when I was an intern at Northwestern Mutual, 21 maybe. And I'm sitting here like, I've taken accounting courses, finance courses. I'm about to enter my senior year. And I'm like, yo, this is different. Like learning about stocks and bonds and mutual funds and annuities and insurance contracts. I was like, this is different. And my mentor, actually all of my mentors, some of which were like amazing friends. I'm going to sleep over someone's house Saturday. When they did their training for interns, it was on a whiteboard. Like it wasn't PowerPoint or anything like that. Yeah. Someone would tell them, hey, we need you to train the interns today on deferred income annuities. And they'd be like, okay. Like I sell, 30 of those a year. I got this. And they would just come in, grab an expo marker and just say, all right, deferred income annuities. And that was everything. And about 6 months in, when they were short on people, I just started running the training for the other interns. Because I just love that. Everything's just stuck to me, seeing it like that.
Yeah.
So that's funny because that's just how I've always done it.
Yeah, I have this.
You're a visual learner.
Yeah,
that's another thing.
I'm a visual learner. I can't.
You can't just
school.
talk
I was
to me.
terrible in school. I couldn't. It was just reading and stuff like that. I hated it.
Yep.
It was just one of those things that I've always hated.
When we say we're a visual learner, that's not what we mean because you could obviously learn through hearing things.
Correct.
It means like that's the one that you lean towards most. So visual, auditory, and I forget the technical term for the last one, but essentially hands-on. Like those are the three ways that we learn.
Yeah.
And we all have a preference, like one that we lean towards. Mine's auditory. Which is a phenomenal gift if you learn to use it because I drive 2 hours a day every day and I'm always listening to something. And I've always commuted, like I've always put 25, 30,000 miles on a car every year and I'm always listening to something. Yeah. And that's changed my life. Yeah. It's very important to know when you're learning what your learning style is.
Yeah.
It's very important to know when you're selling that people have different learning styles.
Yeah.
So it's like, say it, put it up there, like do what, I like the fact that she actually gave you the tax form. Yeah. The challenge is, damn, she used the tax form.
Yeah.
Like, like this.
She could have used
it was like that thick.
I would have used the first 2 pages of the tax form had everything you needed. Yeah. I would have tried dropping the first 2 pages in front of you instead of the whole thing. Yeah. I get it. Technically, that's not the right way to do things. Yeah. But this is a training exercise. This is not me sitting here doing your tax return.
Yeah. She wasn't bad. I just feel like she just old school.
Yeah.
That's it.
And trained accountant. Yeah. Probably very good at what she does.
She's just old school.
Yep. See, I'm not even an accountant.
We might not have been transparent about like what we wanted to get out of the meeting either too. So sure. You don't. It's not.
Yep.
It's all good.
It's good as you guys are building this business to realize that while people are giving your clients the same message, they're approaching the message in a different way. And that differentiation is everything for the sale. Yeah. It's like the more you can sit, and this is the challenge, the more you can sit here and fundamentally understand who your client is, the more successful you will be in acquiring clients. The challenge is you can't sit here and date everybody. Yeah. So you have to get good at communicating effectively very quickly. And that just happens with sales experience. The more you do it, again, pattern recognition. I knew 10 minutes in, Mike is my technical guy. Joel's my creative guy. So when I talk to each person, I need to be mindful. Something as simple as that will change the whole framework.
Yeah.
I think understanding in sales process, like to your point of like when everybody approaches selling differently, everyone approaches being sold differently.
Yeah, of course.
And that's interesting. And that's, navigating that is very interesting. You learn a lot, but
I told my wife, we're looking at potentially changing cars in the next 3 years. Financial planning is such a funny thing because people know they're going to change cars every 5 to 10 years on average, but they never plan for it. So weird.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about we're talking about like, hey, soon, we got one car paid off, one car about halfway paid off. Soon, we're probably gonna need to buy another car to replace the one that has 90,000 miles on it. And I tell her, I use this analogy for sales. It's like everyone's bought a car. Anyone who's an adult, not Gene, has bought a car, and everyone has that one person who they bought a car from who's like, man, that was a great experience. Yeah. And all the other ones were shit.
Yeah.
It's such a bad experience. I know that whole sales tactic in and out.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying. It's like one of the, I'm going to make you sweat until you get so fatigued that you make poor decisions. That's basically selling cars in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you so exhausted that you're just going to make a bad financial decision at some point or another, whether it be buying the car or on the financing or on the packages. That's the gimmick.
Yeah.
But I've had that one person where it's like he just sold like 40, 50 cars a month, Savage, at Ford of all places.
Wow.
And he just saw that I was just in the business of buying a car. And he's like, yo, bro, let me get you out of here as fast as possible. And I was like, yo, I went to go see cars. That day I bought a car. I'm not the type of guy to show up one day and buy it.
He knew.
I was like, my man.
Yeah.
And so do that.
Yeah.
One last question before we got to wrap up, because apparently I have 7 meetings later today. You guys, at one point in time, I felt, were concerned about being partners with each other.
I wouldn't say concerned.
My brother's my partner. I'm concerned about being partners with him every 6 months. It's a concern. It's a concern because it's something that's outside of you.
Yeah.
Like you only have a limited amount of control.
Yeah.
Outside of you.
Yeah.
So if you want to use a different word, that's cool. I'm curious to know, what was the concern in your own words, and where are you with it now?
I think for me, once we had to sit down with you, knowing that the front end structure was incorrect by us, and made me uncomfortable.
Yep.
Because that was what made me comfortable to our original agreement.
Yep.
So knowing that I didn't have that no more, knowing, affected my mental.
Yeah.
So if my mental's affected, I can't move clearly and freely.
Yep.
And I had a shoot in Connecticut a while ago. What was it, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago? And I had a conversation with one of my boys, and he was telling me how he has a bad partnership, how bad it's going for him now, through legal reasons, whole bunch of stuff. And I just like, holy crap, I gotta have this conversation with Mike now.
That's the way to do it, by the way. So classic, just miscommunication.
Yeah.
Misinterpreted expectations or didn't fully understand and were educated on, like, legal expectations of a partnership.
And the fact that these guys were,
close friends
for over 10 years, and now it's like they don't even look at each other.
Yep.
That right there was like, no, we got to do this, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And we sat down and, we talked it out, hashed it out. And now my mind is just like, let's go.
Like you could breathe.
I can breathe,
That's what's up.
And a big thing was you letting us know what the average, how things was construction, what we were averaging, right? And that gave a good perspective. Like, okay, this is what we originally wanted. I mean, mentally for me, that's what originally was like I was really comfortable with.
Yep.
So the fact that even the numbers ran into a play, let it be known like this is for me at least, was like, this is where we should go. And not saying that might change in the future, but like,
it will change.
Yeah, exactly.
It will change because our balance sheets, our net worth, our financial statements, they're ever changing.
Yeah.
If we build the right systems to ensure that they change effectively in a way that we could both agree on, that's how you grow.
Yeah.
We're for me, it was like eliminating ignorance.
Yeah.
And just not understanding, like we have to understand everything.
Yeah. Yep.
Every single person we talk to, whether it's you or another advisor or a banker or every single person will say, oh, you got to be careful because, you partner with this and this person F this person over and that. And we've heard a million stories about how this partner was with the separate this and took that money there. And we're just like, we look at each other and we're like, dude, like we know.
Yeah.
We get it.
Stop spreading negativity.
We know that partnerships are risky. Like, can we make sure that we are ahead of it? We both have our personalities. We have a friendship that, yes, of course. Oh yeah, the marriage that got screwed up because of this. The friendship that got screwed. We know.
Yep. So, people get divorced. We know.
We're not the first people to try to start a partnership.
You got it.
Can we make sure that all the chips are on the table, that eye contact is made, that we have a good shoulder up conversation, and that at the end of the day that we can shake hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, if we can't do that, then we're never going to have anything great.
Yeah.
We're never going to have a great relationship, a great household, wonderful children and relationships with them.
Yeah.
Like
he can't do and he just said it. Like there cannot be dysfunction.
Yeah.
And for me, I'd like to think as a coach, one thing with coaching a team is you can't have dysfunction in the team.
Right.
And so whenever there's this girl is yelling at you have to get ahead of it right away. So I'm very versed of no dysfunction.
Yeah.
He physically can't function with
that's the perfect alignment. That's the perfect alignment.
So there is no.
If you guys keep using that
having
word,
a conversation,
I would put that word, like wherever you work, I would put that word somewhere. Like dysfunction. Like always be looking out for dysfunction.
Yeah.
If you guys just keep that in mind, I think this will be one of the most fruitful partnerships I work with. And let me remind you, I'm going to leave you with two concepts. First, every major organization on planet Earth is technically a partnership. Okay? These days, Jeff Bezos owns under 10% of Amazon. Yeah. Like every major organization that does anything great, because the third form of leverage is capital. Yes. Okay? There's people, there's technology, and then you need to begin at grand scales leveraging capital. You need a bank loan to buy a shit ton of equipment to service your team. Maybe you need a fleet of trucks out there and inventory systems. You're going to need capital at one point or another. Yeah. And you need to learn to leverage capital. And partnership is the perfect form to leverage the three. So the bankers won't tell you that because they don't work with those people anymore. Those people have graduated, right? The advisors won't tell you that because they've probably only reached a certain level of success. So just keep that in mind. The bad shit, it stays around the same place. The good shit just tends to bounce.
We're very focused on the people that have prevailed, not the ones.
Yeah. Careful who you take advice from.
He does his due diligence. I do my due diligence. I'm not saying we know it. We have a long way to go. We don't know everything, but we do know a thing or two.
Yeah, you know a lot more than most partners.
It's like just be transparent and we just kind of rock with it. See, go from there.
Yeah. Transparency is huge.
I'll leave you with one more concept. In about 8.5 years, I'm going to formally retire. I've been thinking about this day for a long time. When I was 21, I decided I'm going to retire when I'm 40 because there's something else that I actually want to do in my life. I just figured I'd get down to the money part first. So I'm working on that. And I'm looking at my balance sheet right now. And besides the cash in the bank accounts that I have, that I, for some reason, haven't added my wife to yet, she's a beneficiary, but she's not on the account. And my children's college funds, there is nothing that I own by myself on this balance sheet. I'm seeing interest in 4 different types of businesses, none of which I'm a majority partner, by the way. I'm a minority partner here at JBS. I'm the CEO. I own a minority amount of the stock, under 50%. I have a beach cottage that I bought in 2021 on the shore in Connecticut that is literally split with my brother-in-law and my mother-in-law, a third, and a third. Because now we could all afford a beach cottage because it's like a car payment. Yeah. We've owned it for 4 years. Some bumps, very little, but it's been excellent and a great way for our families to spend time together. I don't own anything alone. And to achieve my goal of early retirement, which I'll need about $5 million for, I will never own anything alone. It's going to take me too long. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Cool.